And we are back. Welcome to part 2 of Game Week 37 after a weekend where an awful lot of things were decided. Manchester City are the champions of the Premier League for a third time in a row and the fifth time in 6 years. Serious work needs to be done from the rest of the country to stop this becoming a serious dynasty for them. Arsenal, of course, meaning that they finished second after defeat to Nottingham Forest. A defeat which meant that Nottingham Forest are now safe in the Premier League, forcing the relegation fight to go between 3 teams into the final day of the season. In the race for the top 4, Newcastle got the point they needed against Leicester to secure their Champions League spot for next season. Manchester United were able to beat Bournemouth and Liverpool were unable to beat Aston Villa at home, meaning that Manchester United just need one more point either in the midweek game that we're about to discuss or against Fulham at the weekend. The only real other thing up for grabs is the race for the Europa Conference spot, which is currently between a fair few teams that could still go down to the final day. Technically, Brighton and Hove Albion could still drop out of the Europa League space into the Europa Conference League places, but it would require a 16-goal swing in goal difference. So, not a lot left to play for in the Premier League, but we're still going to bring you predictions for the 2 fixtures tonight and tomorrow, as well as all of the fixtures coming up this weekend in Friday morning's video. So before we get into it, as always, a reminder to you guys to drop a like on the video if you have enjoyed these prediction series over the course of the season, as well as subscribing to the channel. We've got a whole host more predictions and other videos coming up for you over the course of the summer break. Let's get into the 2 fixtures that will round off Game Week 37. And we'll start with 2 of those teams that we have just talked about, Brighton and Hove Albion and Manchester City. As I just said, Brighton have to severely lose both games and Aston Villa have to severely win both games to stop Brighton getting a Europa League spot for next season. An incredible achievement. They are guaranteed European football regardless of what happens over the next couple of days. They, of course, take on Manchester City, who have already wrapped up the Premier League title and I believe will be resting some players ahead of the FA Cup and Champions League finals, especially since this is an away game as well. They did all their trophy celebrations and send off to certain players at the Etihad at the weekend. So this is sort of just a free hit. I think this is going to be more of an exhibition style of game. Roberto De Zerbi and Pep Guardiola both aspire to play free-flowing styles of football. So I think this is going to be a really good watch. As I say, with the pressure off, with nothing really on the line, I think we're just going to see, essentially, like I say, it's going to feel a bit more like a friendly. It's going to be like an exhibition match. Both sides just playing the ball around, having some fun. And at the end of the day, I think whatever team Manchester City put out, unless they seriously delve into like their academy, which is a very strong academy as well, I must say, I think we still expect Manchester City to get the win. I'm going to go for 3-2. Like I say, I expect this to be a very open game with plenty of chances for both teams. I just think it will come down to which side takes the more chances, and with Haaland or Alvarez available to them, I think they'll probably end up taking the more chances. On to the far more significant game, both personally and I think realistically, given the current state of the Premier League. Manchester United host Chelsea in tomorrow night's game, in a game where, as I've said, all Manchester United need to do is get one more point and Champions League will be returning to Old Trafford next season. Now, if this were a position whereby we still needed to win this game, I think we probably would have really struggled to do so. Now that we only need a draw, I think the pressure is off and it will allow us to play a little bit more freely. Now, obviously, we have not been scoring goals recently. We have really struggled in front of goal, and it'll be interesting to see what changes Erik ten Hag makes to the attack. Will he start Wout Weghorst? Will he start Garnacho? Is Rashford going to be fit? Either way, I think our defensive record is good enough to keep Chelsea out, and that is the important thing. I think whatever happens on Thursday night, the way we've played defensively over the last 3 weeks since Rafael Varane's come back and Casemiro's come back from suspension and the form Lindelof's in, I think we will be able to keep Chelsea out, and by doing so, that will secure us Champions League football for next season. Whether or not we score the other way is a different matter. And obviously, as you guys all know, I hate to do a 0-0 prediction, but I could very easily see this being a 0-0 game. I, however, am of course a little bit biased. So I'm going to go for 1-0 to Manchester United once again, which was almost the scoreline against Wolves if it wasn't for that last-minute counter-attack. It was the scoreline against Bournemouth, and it just seems to be the way that we're playing at the moment, that we keep the clean sheet and then we maybe nick a goal at the other end, and that's what I'm hoping we do against Chelsea tomorrow night, which will mean that all the pressure will be off going into the Fulham game at the weekend, and it will also mean that we jump above Newcastle in the league with one game to go as well, which would be very, very nice to see. But that'll be it for today. Just the 2 games for us to discuss. As always, let me know down in the comments your thoughts on these 2 fixtures, as well as all of your thoughts regarding everything that happened at the weekend. How is the Premier League table going to finish up? Who is going to get relegated? Who is going to get that final Champions League spot? And who is going to nick that Europa Conference League spot? Thank you very much for watching. I will be back on Thursday after the Manchester United game for my post-match reaction, as well as bringing you the next round of predictions on Friday morning for the final Game Week 38.